This is a personal experience story that happened in Taiwan. Do you believe that deceased relatives return home during the tomb sweeping day, and that they might be right beside you, watching over you? This happened when I was a freshman in college. I had just gotten my motorcycle license, and like all young guys who've just received their license and are overly excited, I only wanted to speed recklessly on the roads without any fear. On April 4th, the night of Tomb Sweeping Day, I went out with friends to a famous viewpoint in Taichung called Wangaoliao to see the night view. That's when I had an accident. The crash resulted in a fractured wrist, and I was sent to the hospital for surgery. The next day, my family rushed from Tainan to see me in Taichung. My parents had just finished paying respects to my grandparents at my aunt's house, but before they could even finish dinner, they received news of my hospitalization due to the accident. They immediately rushed to the hospital. The surgery went smoothly, and a few days later, I was discharged and returned to school. My family also returned to Tainan, which is a city located in southern Taiwan. About a month later, I heard from my mom. In the period after my accident and return to school, she had been terrified. Every night when she tried to sleep, she felt like there was someone else in the room. Due to my dad's work, he doesn't live with my mom, and my sister happened to be interning in another county, so my mom was alone in our entire house. Mom couldn't sleep well at night. At first, she felt like someone was standing on the balcony watching her, although this person couldn't seem to enter. He or she kept staring inside. Later, Mom directly sensed that this person seemed to be standing at the foot of her bed. But whenever she woke up startled, she couldn't see anything. She still believed there was another person in the room. A few days later, after work, Mom stopped by my aunt's house. As soon as my aunt saw her, she said,
"You know what? I dreamed of Mom. I dreamed she was standing at the foot of your bed. At first, she was standing on the balcony and hadn't come in."
Mom was shocked to hear this because she hadn't told my aunt about her experiences over the past few days. Yet my aunt had dreamed about that scene. But when Mom heard it was her own mother, she felt relieved. She asked my aunt, why would Mom come to see me? She passed away so many years ago. My aunt explained, on the day of my accident during the tomb sweeping day, my parents happened to be at her house. That day, Grandma had come back to see them, so she heard about my accident. She was very worried. Since only my parents went to see me in Taichung and my aunt didn't come, Grandma wanted to appear in a dream to ask Mom about my condition. But Mom couldn't sense Grandma's presence. Finally, Grandma appeared in my aunt's dream, hoping she could relay the message. It turned out that the person Mom felt standing by her bed at night was her own mother. So, Mom was no longer afraid. She also went upstairs to pay respects to my grandparents, telling them, "Your grandson is fine now. He's up and about, so don't worry." This incident occurred when my dad was in college, probably around the 1990s. At that time, he was living in Taipei, Taiwan's capital, located in the north. One day, he went to Yilan, a county in northern Taiwan, to attend a cram school class. By the time the class ended, it was already past 11 p.m. He originally planned to sleep at a nearby hotel and return to Taipei, which is adjacent to Yilan, about an hour's drive, early the next morning. However, that day, a college friend called and invited him to sing karaoke. He happily agreed and hurriedly rode his Vespa scooter back to Taipei. At that time, the only way back was via the Beiyi Highway. Due to its treacherous curves and poor visibility, this road was once notorious for accidents and believed to be haunted. Even during daytime, accidents were common, let alone in the middle of the night. There weren't many streetlights then, and the entire road was eerily quiet and very dark. Besides the area illuminated by his own headlights, everything else was barely visible. My dad only knew that there was no one else on the road, except for a car following him from a distance. Despite being young and reckless, and knowing that he might encounter something strange at night, he remained unfazed, focused only on getting back to Taipei. At first, nothing unusual happened, and the ride was smooth. But after some time, he suddenly felt that the scooter's speed had decreased significantly, even though he hadn't released the throttle and was still going full speed. He thought, "This is strange. The scooter is quite new. It shouldn't be breaking down." He glanced at the fuel gauge and saw there was still plenty of gas. Without thinking too much, he continued riding. But then, he began to feel as if the scooter was getting heavier, as if someone had gotten on behind him. Then, something terrifying happened. The scooter gradually slowed down and stalled. At that moment, the entire road was pitch dark, except for his headlights and the distant lights of the car behind him. Stopping in the middle of nowhere for an unknown reason, my dad was terrified and panicked, afraid to look around. Just then, from the corner of his eye, he glimpsed something in his rearview mirror, a dark, shadow-like figure on his back seat. For a moment, he could even feel this thing seemingly placing its hand on his shoulder. He was so scared he couldn't move. Suddenly, a loud horn blasted from behind. The car that had been far behind had somehow gotten very close and was about to hit him. Strangely, at that moment, the scooter suddenly felt lighter and started up again, everything returning to normal. Without thinking further, my dad quickly rode away from that place and rushed to meet his friends in Taipei after returning. He was only in his early 20s then, and now he's in his 50s. But this incident remains vivid in his memory. My dad often wonders if something really did get on his scooter that night. Was what he saw in the rearview mirror real? Or was it just his imagination? If he hadn't encountered that car, and if he had been alone that night, what would have happened to him? Is it possible he might not have made it back? If you want to see my videos faster, please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates.